So it's Monday. It's after the election. You probably saw my previous video where I was freaking out. I just rearranged some plants in here. My big old monstera that's right here, he's living in my bedroom underneath a grow light so that these other plants can get some light from my window here. This is a north-facing window. I'm in Chicago. I don't have any other buildings right here, so I'm very lucky to get a lot of bright light. I do have one southern-facing window that is in a courtyard, so I don't have a whole lot of room, or I don't get a whole lot of light in there right now. So I have a grow light and a few plants that are still hanging out on the windowsill, seeming like they're doing okay. So today I want to talk about a plant that I got a little over a week ago, and it is this. Ludisia Discolor. So this is also called a jewel orchid. This particular one is also called a black jewel orchid. You can see here some discolored leaves. That is because I didn't water it very well. I missed a day. And these guys need to stay damp, and you can see all the little babies coming in there. I'm really excited about this. So this is an orchid that propagates fairly easily. I'm going to leave it in this guy for a little bit longer. Look at the back sides of those leaves. Look how cool they are. Beautiful dark red, beautiful dark green, and a stripe down it. Oh, I'm just so excited. And there's some leaf damage on here. I got this at Petiti's Garden Center in Ohio. What was I doing in Ohio? I was voting. Woo, yay democracy. Petiti's out in Ohio is a really good local garden center. It's a local chain. I was able to find my string of pearls there. The people who work there are always so helpful, so knowledgeable, and it made me so happy to actually be able to stop there. I was looking for pots. I didn't find any pots. I was just looking for something very specific, and I just didn't find it. So I left with a plant and a bag of garden soil. I always really like their garden soil. It's always really light and airy. Anyway, so back to my jewel orchid. I don't know if you can actually see this on camera, but there is a little bend in the pot. That is where one of these, it's where this one is growing out of the pot. So I'm gonna wait, like I said, I'm gonna wait a while before I actually pot this up. This beautiful, perfect little leaf down here. Let me see if I can get it. It has perfect little stripes on it. It was this beautiful dark green with white stripes on it, and now it's red because I went a little bit too long without watering it. There is a varietal called the Velvet Jewel Orchid, and I believe that's Ludisia Discolor variety nigeriensis. There's also Ludisia Discolor Alba. I actually prefer, it's bright green with white. Those are a lot harder to come by, and jewel orchids are something that I feel like I need to practice with a cheaper plant, and this is the most available one out of all of them. So I bought this one for 25 bucks, which is actually a lot for me, especially if it's in a forage pot, but there are a lot of little babies coming out here. So essentially I could get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plants out of this. So 25 divided by 6 is less than $5 a plant. So if I think of it like that, it's not as bad, but also if I don't get this one right, it'll be a while before I try my hand at these again. So Ludisia Discolor, it was first described in 1861 from the sources that I could, and it has like 40 billion names, I swear. So it's crawling and creeping along the ground, which is really cool, and I keep calling it a jewel orchid because it is a terrestrial orchid. Who would have thought? So I've recently gotten into orchids, don't have the conditions to grow a lot of them. I do have 2 very sad looking phalaenopsis right now. It was like a $5 thing last Christmas, and it's finally pushing out new roots. And then another one, it's a mini phalaenopsis with white blooms, and it's just adorable. This guy does not need a chunky mix like other, well, here, let me show you this one. So this guy, mini phalaenopsis, roots coming out. They're pretty dry. I should have watered this like 3 days ago, but I didn't. But it has orchid bark, very airy mix, and it does have some new root tips coming, so I'm not too worried about this one. Also, you can buy phalaenopsis orchids for really, really cheap. We typically see in stores at like garden centers and or the garden center at your hardware store because they're cheap. There's a ton of them in cultivation, and there's just a ton of them. So let me put this guy back. This is my larger Phalaenopsis. It's currently sitting in water at the moment because it needs watered. This guy had basically no roots. You can see some new roots coming out here, but these are epiphytic. Most orchids that we think of are epiphytic orchids. This also doesn't need the same standard care, but there are some similarities. So keep it moist. This guy could use a more airy potting mix. If you look at it now, it's just potting soil. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do half potting soil, half orchid bark when I do go to repot it. This one, I'll probably be watering it every 4 days or so. I'll double check the soil before I do anything else, but it will probably need more water than what I was giving it last week, but it was also just acclimating last week. So we'll see how it does this week. So jewel orchids, they are terrestrial, and this specific one grows in shaded woodland areas in China, Borneo, Thailand, I wrote this down, China, Myanmar, Laos, Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, Malaysia, Sumatra, Borneo, and the Philippines. So very widespread for this guy. It grows underneath tree canopy in the lowlands. If you think about in a forest, it has a lot of leaf litter, a lot of soil. Like where you're walking is probably fairly compact, but if you are walking around, it's usually pretty loose. Fallen trees that are rotting and like bark chunks are kind of falling off of it, and leaf litter and some soil and pine needles, stuff like that. It's very loose, very airy. So that's what I'm going to give this guy. Probably going to err on the side of less rich potting mix, but I can always add more nutrients to it. So that's what I'm going to do with this guy. I'm super pumped about it, if you couldn't already tell. I love it. It's amazing. And hopefully I knock this one out of the park and then I can get some other ones. Now these guys typically do best in a terrarium, but I don't have a terrarium, and I'm not really planning on getting one anytime soon. Most epiphytic orchids that we think of, like this guy, it always has those beautiful blooms. We always see it in bloom. These guys, not so much. We grow them for their foliage, just like most of my plants here. I'm all about the foliage, and you know I'm a sucker for a dark leaf, so there we go. I forgot to say this. This plant can tolerate more shade. By tolerate, I mean, don't put it in the darkest corner of your apartment. Plants still need light. Hopefully I will edit this and not procrastinate and delete it like I do most of my other videos. So thanks for joining me on my sort of plant haul, but not really. Subscribe or don't, it'd be great to have you back. Okay, thanks, bye!